Welcome, Oscar. Good to see you again, man. It's been a bit.
Yeah, it's good to see you. 2 weeks off. Yeah, or 1 week off. Yeah, I haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah, what were you doing during that week?
I've been maintaining our now 10-year tradition of moving every year for 10 years now. So we have moved again. I'm sitting here in an empty room with boxes, and hopefully we can break the streak and stay here for a while. You never know with us, but we bought a house and we've been moving in.
Okay, because thinking about it, I'm like, you came to our school, left our school, went to Texas, came back, made a Maryland run. You were making trips to New York. Uh, yeah, man. You
It all
are.
changed 2011. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
well, yes. Hopefully, this is the end, unless something sends you back to San Diego.
That could always happen with us, but it doesn't happen. This is a place where I could see staying for a while if that's what we do in Maryland.
Okay. Well, we will talk about some Maryland current events a little bit later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, updates for us. My smallest one, my 2-year-old, is now officially potty trained. Uh, didn't even need to, we did a road trip to LA and didn't even need to put a diaper on her. She made it both ways, not even when she sleeps. So
Oh, and when she sleeps, that's incredible. That's yeah.
full potty trained. And my 4-year-old is now riding a bike. That happened yesterday.
Riding a bike, nice. Congratulations.
We got our little balance bike before that, so got that balance down, and just added. We got handed down her cousin's bike because he got a new one, and so she's started pedaling yesterday.
Wow. So no training wheels. Then she's just fully balanced on the bike.
Yep, we heard to just do no training wheels,
Yeah.
just do the balance bike because then you just need to learn how to pedal, and it worked.
Yeah. Nice.
Yep.
Nice.
So
Very cool.
those are some updates from one coast to the other.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get into our agenda. So first we have, there are many Supreme Court decisions this week. I think the loudest one was about Trump's financial records.
Yeah, that taxes one. It's that was the last of the big decisions, and I almost forgot about that. That was still in the pipeline. We've been talking about that for years since he was running for president. So yeah, there's a lawsuit in New York where the Southern District of New York is trying to get his tax returns, and he's thrown up all kinds of obstacles to it. So sending it to the Supreme Court was one of those obstacles, and so the Southern District of New York will be able to see his taxes. It's unclear whether we will see his taxes or whether Congress will see his taxes before the election, but it just seems like at some point it's probably going to happen. I think you'll have a chance to throw up more obstacles to it in the lower courts, but it seems like the momentum is on the side of transparency, which is good. It's a good victory, not an immediate one that people wanted, but it's still in going in that direction.
Well, and he has spent his life litigating, or not going through litigation, to hopefully let other people run out of money. And so this is just a way of life for him. So I'm sure there will be many, many, many more different ways that he tries to fight this in court. But for now, this is a victory for transparency, as you mentioned.
It is. He knows how to run out the clock, and he might run out the clock at least through this election. But at some point, we're going to see the taxes, and we're going to learn a whole lot more about what he did as president.
Well, he also got visited this week. He got a visitor from just a little bit further south, our neighbor to the south, and it seemed like a really different meeting than we expected. What were your feelings about that?
So, President Andrés Manuel López Obrador in Mexico. First of all, he sold the presidential plane, so he flies commercial. He risked getting COVID to take a commercial flight to Washington D.C. to meet with Trump, and I'm not surprised by the whole tone of the way he talks to President Trump and sucks up to him, because most of Mexican policy with immigration has been just siding right up to the United States. I'm really curious to hear from my friends who supported AMLO for president. I wasn't very impressed. I don't really trust any presidential candidates in Mexico, but he really got people to sign on to him. He was kind of like a Bernie Sanders type figure, and I'm just really curious to what people think about the way that he's really just kissing Trump's butt.
All right. Well,
in personal danger to do it. I just don't understand.
Yeah, the flight to come up there. Yeah, I'll leave that alone, because I think you have more feelings. You have stronger feelings about it than I do.
He gave him a ball pat, like on behalf of the people in Mexico. I see. If I talk more, I'm just going to get louder. So, yeah, I'm not impressed with him.
Okay.
I will leave it at that.
All right, we'll keep it moving. And then there was also a ruling about Oklahoma. And looks like the Supreme Court basically said more than half the state is Native American land.
Yeah, they basically said that we have to respect the treaties that we signed, which the Constitution says any treaties are the law of the land. And the Supreme Court really just affirmed that. So yeah, we signed some treaties with Native Americans in eastern Oklahoma, saying that this is your land. And then we just went ahead and ignored them the way we always have. And just shockingly, the Supreme Court said, no, we have to uphold it. And so that land is theirs. And so now this is the part where Tulsa is in eastern Oklahoma. And so there's all kinds of jurisdiction issues over joint use of the land that people weren't expecting. And I think that's the trend with these recent decisions, which has been that they've really surprised liberals by ruling in their favor, and I think most liberals didn't expect it, because really it's the Supreme Court's majority conservative now. It's been like 5-4 decisions, and all that can change in this next election. Ginsburg is 83, 84 years old, and it just takes one more to replace her, and then that conservative majority will be solidified. Right now, we're just getting these random chance victories that really we weren't expecting. The abortion community was fully expecting to lose that case. Yeah, and
okay. Well, let me argue against that.
Yeah.
So, do we think that these are random chance victories, or do we think that maybe conservative judges can also just read the law? Like, they're educated people that have been judges their whole life, and maybe they are interpreting the law the correct way?
I think there's all kinds of interpretations on what the correct way is. I think the ones that the real conservatives believe they have the correct interpretation of law. I think it's Chief Justice Roberts who has suddenly turned into the swing judge. His name is on the court. It's the Roberts. And so I think his legacy, he's trying to protect the institution from being seen as too political. And so he's kind of bucked his conservative wave and joined the liberals on some of these key cases. And he can only do that because there's 4 liberals, and he can actually join them to sort of moderate the court in the interest of its own legitimacy. But if Ginsburg dies and gets replaced by a conservative, it doesn't matter what Roberts does. They'll have 5 without Roberts, and they will rule according to what they think is a correct conservative interpretation of the court. And suddenly, religious discrimination will be allowed, and abortion will be shut down, and the Americans will lose, more control of their land. All that stuff can really go away with Ginsburg. She's linchpin, and it's allowed Roberts to take these stances that have surprised a lot of us. And Gorsuch too.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to get to something that I think has bothered me more than anything else lately, which is I'm going to go back to Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
Like, it sickens me to think about the lack of action that has happened. As we've mentioned in previous classes, for Black people, it seems like the only weapon we have is video. And if we as people of color don't have video evidence, then justice is not going to happen. There are numerous mistakes that have been seen in the police report with Breonna Taylor, but there's no citizen who took video,
Right.
and there's also no action. So this week, this is one of those, like, either before you go to sleep or maybe in the shower ideas. I kind of came up with an idea that maybe what we need to start doing, somebody needs to make a news site that takes people of color and tries to make them sound white, and then publishes the story, and then at the end reveals their ethnicity. Like, I even thought, like, Breonna Taylor, what if we just said there is a EMT who was Elizabeth Taylor's niece,
Right.
who was shot in her sleep when police wrongfully invaded her home.
Right.
If there was a white face to this, I just feel like it would be treated so much differently.
Of course it would. Of course it would.
And so I don't know. I just thought of this website where you would just make the exact same story, but then just make it a white person and have a picture of a stock photo white person and see if the result was different.
I mean, I think it's an interesting thought experiment. I agree that it's because of her race, that people aren't as horrified and demanding, justice for her. And yeah, so I mean, the idea that we have to trick people into thinking that's a white person because that's how things will actually get done is probably true, but it's also it's just so depressing that that's what you need to do. Similar. I think if you describe that as like an animal that had been shot, people would care more in some ways.
Or yeah, if we're comparing kids in cages at the border to animals in cages at the border, it might be a whole different response.
Yeah. The pit bull community would be up in arms, but no, I mean the fact that people don't care about women of color, Black women specifically. I don't know. Yeah, I'm saddened that that's where we are. I feel like that's where the next generation hopefully can push us to get out of this sort of sense that we've seen it before. So I know I fall into that mental pattern being like, but it can, and so I tell myself that it can, because families have gotten justice, and there have been the protests have achieved results. This one hasn't.
This one has not, and I actually think we have to talk about her every single class, every week, until there is justice.
And but then also, where does the pressure go? So this was what, Kentucky?
Yes.
So is it the DA? Is it the governor? Like, that's some of the obviously it's not the police department, it's not doing anything. So is it a matter of getting police chiefs fired? That's where my mind goes in these things. So, okay, where is the appropriate pressure point for this? Because people can be on social media and you can talk about it, but ultimately the right people need to feel pressure to act.
And I've thought about it from multi-level, where is it the officer's fault that they went to the wrong place, or were they given the wrong information? Obviously, the officers need to be held accountable for any type of shoddy police work they did.
Yeah.
And any inaccuracies that they purposely made. But how far up that chain do we need to go to be able to have a semblance? I mean, there can be no justice, but some type of vindication.
I mean, it's got to go pretty high to change in terms of the law that protects that kind of behavior. Because police, they know how to restrain themselves. They know how to act very professionally, because they would not have done that in a wealthy white area, because they would have restrained themselves. So they know how to restrain themselves. They choose not to, because they know that the law will protect that complete disregard for people's lives when it's Black people. So there's a piece of that that has to be state legislation. You know, there might need to be some sort of national legislation, but certainly local prosecution, at least for all the officers involved. All of them could have restrained themselves, and they chose not to.
Good point. Good point. And well, in the interest of time, I'll actually move on to